So hello and welcome. My name is Melissa. I am the supervisor of the Wellness and Exercise program here at Community Care Peterborough. And I'm here today and we're going to talk about falls prevention. So this presentation is called Steady State, Preventing a Fall Before It's Too Late. I'm just going to open this up a little bit bigger here and we're going to get started. So today we're going to be talking about the basics, definition of a fall and statistics, risk factors and strategies to reduce the impact of falls, environmental considerations, and then we're going to talk about exercise. So what is a fall? The definition of a fall is unintentionally coming to rest on the ground, floor, or other lower level with or without an injury. Falls occur due to a loss of balance and an inability to recover your balance. So these are some statistics on falls. Some of you might find these fairly alarming. It's not meant to scare you. It's really just to show you the impact of falls. So, it brings awareness, okay? So it is estimated that 30% of seniors in our communities will fall one or more times each year. Falls are a direct cause of 95% of all hip fractures among persons aged 65 years and older. And this leads to death in 20% of those cases. So that's a pretty significant number there. So 95% of all hip fractures, so that's are from falls. So that's pretty big. So we do want to make sure that we're preventing these, okay? So falls are the leading cause of injury-related hospitalization and death among individuals 65 years and older. Falls are a catalyst for transition to long-term care facilities. So when someone has a fall, especially a senior, there could be some other comorbidities, so other diseases or issues that they have, and those can kind of really get they can really get worse, especially with being in the hospital, not being home. So we just really want to, again, avoid falls because we are looking at keeping you safe and independent in your home. So this is a good statistic, I would say, because we're having an increase in people who are reporting falls. So that is a really good thing because I believe that that really does set a good standard for people. If they're more likely to admit that they're having falls, then they are more likely to seek help and educate themselves on falls prevention. Length of stay in hospital is 9 days longer for seniors that come into the hospital due to a fall, compared to seniors hospitalized for any other cause. So this can be an issue because the longer we stay in hospital, we could acquire a different infection from the hospital. We're not really moving around too much. I think, we tend to be in the hospital and we want to lay down. We don't feel good. We don't sometimes are nervous about going outside of our room. It's not comfortable to us, so we maintain in our room. We don't get out. So it really does have an impact on our mobility and it can on our health as well. So we want to get home quicker the better. Fall-related injury rates are 9 times higher among those aged 65 years and older. So some negative outcomes from falls. So we can develop a fear of falling. So this can increase our anxiety and have an effect on many of these factors below. If we're scared of falling, it is going to decrease our mobility. So we will talk about that a little bit more. Loss of autonomy is pretty big. This impacts our ability to make our own decisions and can really impact our independence. So again, decrease in mobility when we're scared of falling. We're not apt to get up on our own very often. We want to stay put and reduce our risk of falling. But this can be a huge hindrance and actually, be a hindrance in our ability to prevent falls. So all of these things are going to we're going to make ourselves more isolated if we're not moving, if we're scared of falling, We're not going to get out. We're going to become more isolated. We're going to be remaining in our homes, not going too far from home. This can really impact our mental health. It can play a role in making us more confused. So, due to that lack of, or due to isolation and lack of social. So, and then the other thing that can happen is depression. So, if we're not getting out, we're not seeing people that we love, if we're not doing the things that we love to do, that's going to really dampen our spirits, and depression can be another issue. Okay, so risk factors. So, these can be due to a combination of factors that overwhelm one's ability to maintain or regain their balance. Each person may face a unique combination of risk factors based on life circumstances, including health status, health behaviors, economic status, social supports, and environment. So, understanding what puts a person at risk of a fall is a crucial step in reducing falls and fall related injuries. So, risk factor categories: biological and intrinsic. These include effects from our natural aging process, as well as acute and chronic health conditions. Behavioral, so including one's actions, emotions, or choices. Social and economic, so our social networks, socioeconomic status. And environmental, so these are factors associated with physical environment, including building design, entrances, outdoor spaces, and furniture. So some of these are really things that we can't control. And then there is some things that we can. So we will look a little bit further into some environmental ways we can look at preventing falls. So biological and intrinsic risk factors. So number one, acute illness. So when we acquire an acute illness, the symptoms or the medications that they put us on can really increase our risk of falling. Mobility impairments, so changes to our postural control, can impact our biomechanical, sensory, and cognitive factors, resulting in instability, so therefore making us more apt to fall. Chronic conditions and disabilities, so such as Parkinson's disease, diabetes, arthritis, cardiovascular disease, COPD, even bowel and bladder issues, chronic ones. So if we're always rushing to the bathroom, that can create a fall. Cognitive impairments. So cognitive impairments actually increase our risk of falling by 2 to 3 times. This affects one's ability to anticipate and adapt to environmental stimulus. So that's a pretty huge one too. Advanced age, so conditions associated with aging, not aging itself necessarily, but things that are associated with aging, like decrease in vision, our hearing, changes in awareness of our body and sensations. So this could be an example of that is if we lose the sensation on our feet. So when we're making contact with the floor, we're not always knowing we're making contact, and that can really impact our balance. So gender is another risk factor. So it's actually found to be more of an increased likelihood for women than men to suffer falls and an injury from a fall. So this is found to be because women are at a greater risk to develop osteoporosis, which can really impact our physical abilities. And if we are to fall, then our risk of suffering an injury is going to be much greater. So muscle weakness and reduced physical fitness is another one. So this is one of the most important risk factors. It increases our risk of fall by 4 to 5 times. So this is why being physically active is so, so important. And we're going to talk about that more later. So some behavioral risk factors. So assistive devices, using them is great, especially if you need them. They can promote independence and mobility, which is what we want. But this is if they are used properly, if they are sized properly, and if they are maintained. So we're going to look a little bit more into that later. We'll talk about that a little bit more. So excessive alcohol is another one. So it can be a contributing risk factor on its own, or it can interact with other drugs that you might be taking. This can impact changes in our awareness, balance, and our gait pattern. So how we walk. So fear of falling, we kind of already touched on that. And it is behavioral. It does lead to a decrease in physical activity, which leads to muscle weakness, poor balance, and poor self-reported health. So we want to really prevent falling so we don't have this happen. We're not scared of falling, right? Because we don't really want that to impact um, us moving and getting the exercise that we need. So footwear and clothing. Some features can increase risk of falls. So looking at shoes, if the sole is too thick or if there's a slippery bottom, like a slippery sole, if you make contact with a slippery surface or the thicker sole, it can be a tripping hazard. Um, Clothing, if it's too long, slippery material, or too tight. So if it's too long, you can get caught in things. If it's slippery, if you're sitting on a surface that is also a little bit slippery, like leather or anything like that, and you're wearing silk, you could slide off that surface, or it could really, really challenge your balance. And then if it's too tight, I'm thinking of if you're putting on that clothing and it's too tight, it's not going to be easy to get on. And if you have any issues with balance, it could create a fall. Inadequate diet, or sorry, history of falls. So consider behavioral risk when one chooses not to seek out info or take action. So if you have a history of falls and you don't tell anyone, then it's going to be really hard to get the information and education that you need to help prevent future falls from happening, or maybe even medical attention. There could be a medical reason why you are falling. So inadequate diet, dehydration, and or malnutrition can lead to physical weakness, fatigue, and frailty. So we want to make sure we're getting the appropriate vitamins, minerals, and food that we need to maintain our health. Medications. So older adults taking more than 3 to 4 meds have an increased risk of falling. So this is going to be something else we talk about later, but it's really good to make sure you're keeping track of the medications that you are getting from the doctor, maybe speaking with your doctor or a pharmacist to go over the list with you and see if there's anything that you can remove, because this is another risk factor, and just taking those meds, and how they interact with each other um, can put you at risk for falling. So vitamin D is another one. So this is linked to bone and muscle strength. Supplementation may reduce falls. So I wouldn't go ahead and take vitamin D on your own, but again, talking to your healthcare provider, seeing if you're lacking vitamin D or if you need it in your diet, that might be something to look at as well. And then a lack of exercise. So this is associated with decreased mobility, decreased in physical function, bone density, weak muscles, and poor balance. So we definitely want to make sure that we are getting our exercise on the regular so we can help maintain all of this. So social and economic risk factors, social factors. There's an indirect relationship between lack of social networks, particularly family support, and falls through poor health, isolation, depression, and disabilities. Lack of transportation is another one here. It contributes to social isolation and is a barrier to participating and exercise in falls prevention programming, like we at Community Care Peterborough have. So this is really something to pay attention to if we don't have the means to travel to where, we need to go. It can be very isolating. There is, if you have family or friends that can help, that's great. If you do, you could always reach out to community care to see if you qualify for any of our transportation programs as well. And then socioeconomic status. So there is a link between a low socioeconomic status with poor environment, poor diet, unsafe environments, and barriers in accessing healthcare services. So in Canada, we're very lucky. Most of our healthcare is free, but there is a lot of outside services that are not covered through OHIP. You might not have insurance, so they could be financially straining for you to access, like physiotherapy, occupational therapy, maybe going to a nutritionist, maybe getting vitamins or minerals that you need. So, any of those things could impact your health as well. So, environmental risk factors. So, factors in the community, often related to design standards and building codes. They may not take into account the needs of older people. Factors in our living environment. So, researchers and practitioners often consider hazards in the home the most common environmental risk factor for falls. So, this is interesting. It's kind of like accidents. They always say accidents happen closer to home. And it's really is because you're comfortable, with that route. So, really, we're very comfortable in our own homes. So sometimes making changes doesn't come to us naturally, and we're not really seeing those risk factors that are just in our home because we've been living in that on the regular and they never were an issue before. So sometimes it's really good to get an outside opinion to see if someone else might have some suggestions for us. And then weather and climate. So in Canada, both temperature and precipitation can lead to wet or icy surfaces. So this can also be a risk for fall as well. So multifactorial approach to falls prevention in a community setting. So assistive devices and protective equipment. Appropriate use is important for those with gait and balance deficits. Clinical expertise should be sought out for appropriate assessment and use of device. So we kind of talked about this earlier. If we're not using the appropriate device for us, it's not going to be beneficial. Also, if we're not getting properly sized for it, we're not getting properly trained in how to use the device, again, it's not going to be super beneficial to us. It can actually be a hazard to us. So, clinical disease management, appropriate treatment of medical conditions, including visual deficits, cardiovascular disorders, and hypotension. So, we just want to make sure that we're following up with the correct people to make sure that we're managing that appropriately. Education. So important for implementation and sustained use of falls prevention strategies. Environmental modification should include modifications of environmental falls risk and evaluation of daily activities and intervention to promote safe performance. So we kind of talked about this. Any modification that you change in your environment needs to work for you. It's also very helpful to have someone professional come in and take a look at, the spaces that you have and make modifications that's going to work for that space and for you specifically. Kind of same thing as the assistive devices and protective equipment. If you're using the wrong thing for you, it's not going to be beneficial. So physiotherapists, occupational therapists, they're trained in this, so it is good to get their opinion if you can. So medication review and monitoring, we kind of already talked about this as well. Routine reviews and adjustments, but under the supervision of a physician or pharmacist. So again, if you're taking many medications, just making sure you're keeping on top of them, reviewing them, and having someone monitor you on them and making sure that that's working for you. And if you're having issues, you're noticing big changes, you're making sure you're following up with those. Nutrition and supplements. So older adults require sufficient protein to maintain strength and adequate hydration. Sometimes nutritional supplements are required. So again, I wouldn't suggest going out and buying a whole bunch of different supplements and just taking them. I would really recommend discussing with your physician, making sure that they're checking you to see if you are deficient in anything, and then maybe following up with someone else or them to see what you're needing to take. Exercise programs. So exercises that target balance, gait, and strength training are most effective. And we will get into this in a minute. We will talk about more exercise here soon. So environmental risks and strategies to reduce the impact of falls. So we're going to talk about we're going to get really in depth here, but these are all changes that you can make to your environment to reduce your risk of falling by up to 27%. So I know it's very difficult. Not all of us like change. And it's, again, hard for us to notice that these changes might need to be made. But having someone come in and maybe review these things with you in your own home to see any modifications at all that you can make is going to be extremely beneficial. Okay, so we're going to talk about outside and the entryway. So first off, uneven driveways. So we want to repair these if possible, especially if you're using, well, if you have any visual issues, but if you're using a mobility device, it's going to be very hard to navigate that driveway using that. If there's like potholes, big cracks, anything like that. So if you can repair stairs, uneven, steep, if there's no handrails, especially if you're having some mobility issues, looking at getting a handrail is very beneficial, something very sturdy. You want to make sure it's properly installed. So it is going to be beneficial to you. Maybe making some other changes like maintaining the stairs, adding a ramp. So those are all things you can look at. Some seasonal considerations. So in Canada, we have many seasons. So, leaves, sticks, branches, mud, snow, and ice. Changes to make would just be making sure that you're clearing the leaves, debris. You never know what's underneath that debris or the leaves. Also, leaves can be very slippery. Making sure snow gets removed from walkways, stairs, deck, anywhere that you regularly would walk through so that you can navigate that area well. And then using sand and salt on any ice. So inside the home. So these are common to all your spaces in your home. So risk or area of concern. So poor lighting. We want to make sure we have bright lights. We're changing burnt out bulbs so that, again, we have brighter spaces, and then maybe adding night light. So this, we're going to talk about this a little bit more, but in any space that you may need to get to at night. So maybe to the kitchen, if you're someone who gets up in the middle of the night and wants a cold glass of water, or maybe changing and putting that glass of water on your bedside table, that might be another option. But really, really making sure that there is some space that's lit up towards a path to a bathroom that you would use. So clearing clutter, and cords. So making sure that if there's clutter and cords around, they're secured and there isn't clutter in any area that you frequent. Uneven floors, door thresholds, so repairing if possible, or you want to maybe draw your eye to that area for attention. So if you have, you can buy some brighter tape or anything like that, and place that on that area so that when you are navigating that area, then you are knowing that that is something that you need to watch out for and you're being a little bit more cautious. So area rugs, we really, really don't like these. They're a major tripping hazard. I know they're really nice and they keep our toes, nice and warm on any cold surface, especially in the winter time. But it's really hard to navigate some of these, especially for people with mobility issues or using a mobility device like a walker or anything. They can get stuck on there and cause you to fall. I would say, avoid the high ply carpet. If you have to have a carpet at all, looking at something that is very, very low profile and that you can easily navigate and roll over with your walker or step over is something to look at. So poorly arranged furniture, low furniture, rocking furniture. So this can be very challenging for some people who have difficulty getting in and out of a chair. So we want to make sure, one, that our furniture is arranged so we can easily navigate in the home, but we also want to make sure that the furniture we're going to be able to get in and out of that chair, especially if we're on our own. So maybe adding a sturdy cushion underneath or something like that, and trying to avoid rocking furniture if you do have any mobility or balance issues. So in the bedroom, so beds that are too high, they make beds extremely high these days where even I have to, heave ho and jump onto. And that's really not the safest way to enter your bed. So maybe looking at a lower bed, adding a bed rail if you don't have the finances or anything to get a new bed. They have these really nice ones that just slide under the mattress. So, and then they're just there for you for support to get in and out of the bed. So that could be very helpful. Poorly arranged furniture in the bedroom, specifically if there's no clear route to the bathroom. So we kind of talked about this a little bit with the night light. So we want to make sure our furniture is arranged so we can easily, safely, and quickly, if required, to travel to the bathroom during the night. So adding a night light again on that path to the bathroom is huge. Making sure that if you do use a mobility device, it's nice and close to your bedside so that you can grab it right away before you get out of bed. So you're not stumbling around in the night trying to look for your walker, your cane. And then making sure before you go to bed that you have a clear pathway to the bathroom. So if there's any clothes on the floor or anything like that, make sure you're picking those up before you get into bed for the night. Okay, so in the bathroom. So the bathroom is, it's a slippery place, especially when we're showering and that sort of thing in there. So this is an area we're going to dive deep into. So first off, so toilets. So there are some pretty low toilets out of there that could be very challenging for some of us to get off the toilet or onto the toilet. Broken or loose seats. And then again, if they're very low, or even if they're not very low, if you have no grab bar or handrail and you do need that assistance, that's not going to be very helpful. So some suggestions, looking at getting a higher toilet or raised toilet seat, repairing broken parts, so especially those that contribute to stability. So if that seat is sliding around and you're in a hurry to get to the bathroom and it's not fully secure, that could be a major risk for a fall. Could detach and you could fall off the toilet with it. You could fall into the toilet, injure yourself. There's just so many things that could happen. That would not be very ideal. And then if you do need that extra support with the use of your arms, you have some weaker legs and you need those grab bars, installing grab bars maybe to help with you getting up and down on the toilet safely. There's also other options like a Versa frame, commode, or a frame over the toilet that, they can be used long term. If you have the space, then I feel like the grab bar handrail is the most beneficial. Okay, bathtubs. So if the side of the tub is too high, looking at slippery bottom, I mean, pretty much if we're in there showering or bathing, the bottom is going to be slippery. So adding grab bars, tub rails, maybe a tub transfer bench. You can get benches that actually sit in the tub and outside of the tub. So you can sit on the chair when you're outside of the tub, and then you can get your legs in over top as you're sitting. So those are very handy. Also, maybe adding some non-slip tape or mats to the bottom of the tub so that when you are in there, you have a little bit of support and you have better contact with your feet. Looking at inaccessible setups, so like a jacuzzi, hot tub. I know they're so nice. They feel so warm on our bones, so good on our bodies, especially if we're someone who suffers from chronic pain or mobility issues. They're really not great for people with decreased mobility. So if you can avoid using them, please do. If you do use them, and you're not so concerned about your mobility at this point, maybe looking at, if you can, adding a grab bar or something close by so that, it is always a risk. So if you have something close by that you can grab onto, or if you're getting in that tub, making sure that someone's home or someone's in there with you or close by, or you have that phone so that you can call for help if needed. Showers. So if they're too small, you can look at the doors, like if they slide or swing and the direction they do that. Seating built in or a slippery bottom. So maybe you're looking at taking out the sliding doors if they're not opening up enough for you to get in and out safely. Looking at the direction of the swing of the door. So if they swing in or out, it could be as well, and they're really hard for you to navigate getting in and out. Maybe looking at something else or changing the swing if you can. Um, Being aware of the risk of the built-in seating. So you just want to make sure that again you can navigate around them. They are also very slippery, so you just want to make sure if you are using them and they're that like ceramic or whatever that material is, that maybe you're adding like a non-slip mat to it. So if you are sitting on that, you have some stability. You could also, if you need to sit, use modular bath seat, wall mount seat, bench. Again, you just want to make sure that all these things are very sturdy. And then bath mats. So inside and outside of the tub or shower, they are a trip hazard, but so is a wet floor. So if you can, maybe inside the tub, again, non-slip tape. Outside, I would say if you can avoid the rug, okay, but if you need to, a large one with a non-slip bottom, okay. And some very important information about the bathroom. So it is again one of the biggest risks for falls in the bathroom because we use it, to get clean. We're wet, the floor is slippery. It can be a major hazard. So lack of properly installed grab bars is one of the biggest risks. So if they're not properly installed and you are really going, you slip a little bit and you're going to grab them, it's not going to be very beneficial if they're not installed properly. So making sure that something like that is installed by a professional or at least someone that's experienced knows what they're doing. The best case scenario, you're able to get a grab bar that can be strongly anchored into the wall. So using a drill or something like that, and someone that knows what they're doing. So that again, it's done properly. And when you do need that, it's going to be able to support you. Again, looking at appropriate placement. So if you put it up too high, too low, kind of out of the way for where you're even going to get in and out of the tub or be, mainly in that area, it's not going to be very beneficial. So placing it appropriately so that you can firmly support yourself. And then grab bars should be installed where you need them. So again, appropriate placement, putting them where you need them. And there are some grab bars that are designed to look like and double as a towel holder, which is nice for people that don't want other people to, necessarily know that they're needing help and support. We do just need to be careful where you're placing your hand, where you're using those things. Okay. So if you're grabbing the towel, it's not going to be very beneficial. You want to make sure that you're using the actual sturdy part of that rail or the grab bar. So on the next slide, you can kind of see them. So these are the camouflage grab bars, which are great, they are more costly. So there's always that, but that is an option for you. Okay, so in the kitchen. So risk or area of concern for the kitchen, poor organization and accessibility of what you use on the regular, needing a step stool or to reach on your tiptoes. So if something is up nice and high, having to bend down to the floor level. So we really suggest that you place everything that you use on the regular and daily basis at our magic height. So the magic height is the distance between your shoulders and your hip. Okay, so therefore you're not having to bend down, get on your knees to grab whatever you need from the lowest cupboard, or you're not tiptoeing to reach high for something or climbing up on a step stool. So we don't want to place items where you have to climb to get them. Avoid placing items where you need to tiptoe or bend down. And then we always just want to make sure that even in the kitchen, we're clearing clutter and keeping those walkways clear. So some other common areas of concern in the kitchen are poor lighting, clutter, cords, mats and rugs, uneven flooring, and poorly arranged furniture. So we just want to make sure that we're making sure that we're looking at all of those things as well. So the stairs. So, lack of sturdy handrails. We want to ensure there are sturdy handrails. So, at least one, it's good. Two is best. Um, and that being said, two is best only if they're in an ideal location for you to be able to use two. If they're really wide and you have to extend your arms too far away, it's not really going to be beneficial. But at least one. So, poor lighting. Oh, and to go back from the handrails, because we've already talked about this, but again, you want to make sure they're installed properly so they're going to support you appropriately as well. So poor lighting. Some places do tend to have some pretty poorly lit stairways, so we want to make sure that they're well lit because already navigating the stairs is tricky for some of us. Surface, if it's slippery, uneven, loose rugs, maybe using some non-slip tape on those stairs, removing rugs would be a very good thing. Being aware of uneven spots. So if there is uneven spots, maybe using that, bright color tape or something to draw attention to that. So you're either avoiding it or being very careful around that spot. Well, I'm going to tell you my own experience. So at my parents' place, they have this beautiful hardwood floor. It's very nice and shiny. They don't even polish it, but it's very slippery. Um, so even for myself, I wear socks a lot when I'm over there, and when I used to live there. And I'm a rushing kind of gal, so I, would slip sometimes on the stairs. So it's just something to think about when you're navigating the stairs. Maybe you're not using sock feet, you're having some stable, sturdy footwear, avoiding socks and also avoiding rushing. So making sure you're taking time to navigate those stairs is very, very important. Clutter. So if there's any items on your stairs or shoes or anything like that, removing those so you're not tripping over anything as you're navigating those stairs as well. Steep stairs. So the best thing that we can do for that is maintaining our lower body strength. It can really help you navigate steep stairs. I would also say our upper body strength is very important too, especially if there's like a railing or something. So you can really use that railing for support. Okay, so other precautions or ways to be prepared. So we want to keep phones at an accessible height so that if you were to fall and were unable to get up, you have the means to call for help. So that might be putting a phone on a side table so that if you were needing to scoot or crawl to that phone because you're on the floor, you're able to reach it. So these are all things that we need to really think about beforehand. So if you're leaving it up on a high kitchen counter, it's not going to be very beneficial to you. So making sure when you're going about, your daily things, you're making sure it's going to be accessible to you at all times, thinking ahead, okay? So if you rely on cell phones, making sure that they are charged. That is key number one. So making sure that each day they are fully charged so that if we need them, we can use them. And then again, making sure they're within reach. So if you're going to go outside, we want to take our cell phones with us or whatever phone, as long as you're still going to be able to use it when you take it out there. And again, you're going to consider where you're going to put that. So where are you going to be located? What are you doing? You want to make sure that phone is somewhere that if you were to fall, you had to crawl to go to get it, it's going to be reachable for you. So maybe considering a distress alarm. There's many different kinds you can get now. They're not only used for falls, they're also used for medical emergencies as well. So there's all these different kinds of options. It's very good for getting help, especially if you're alone, that sort of thing. So, it's something that you can wear on your body. Most of them are waterproof too. So using them in the shower, which is where a lot of falls happen, can be done. So that's nice as well. And there's something that you can just push a button, or if you get the more advanced option, it can detect that you've fallen or are in an emergency. And it will call someone to ask to make sure, that you do need help, and then they will send for emergency services. So that's something to look at as well. Community Care Peterborough has a relationship with Lifeline. So they use Lifeline. So if you are interested and want to hear more, you could always call community care to see if that is going to be something that works for you. So, we can't always prevent falls from happening. So how do we get up if we fall? So I'm going to show you that. So number one, we want to make sure that we have something close by, something that if we were to fall and are on the floor, we're going to be able to get to it. Um, so, a dining room table, chair, something that's sturdy and supportive so that when you need to get up off the floor, it's going to be useful for you. So I'm going to just turn and angle my camera around, and I have a bench here that I'm going to be demonstrating with. Okay. I'm going to get on the floor here. So I've had a fall, okay? I need to get over to the surface. So there is a couple ways that we can go about doing that. So one way is we can scoot to where we need to get to help us get up off the floor. Okay, so we can use our arms and our feet and shift our bum across the floor to help get to where you need to be. Or if you can, if you're on your side, maybe crawling, getting onto our knees and crawling over to that surface. Okay, so once you do get to that surface, okay, we're going to be using our arms, okay, on here. And then if we've injured one side of our body, so one side of our lower body, we want to use the leg that is not injured or that is not sore or our strongest side. And we're going to bring that up like this, okay? Also, I'm wearing some very sturdy supportive shoes. That's something to keep in mind as well, especially if you have slippery floors. Okay, you're gonna take that strong leg up like this. This is gonna hurt for some people that have bad knees or that are truly injured. You're gonna push down into that surface and you're gonna pivot on that leg to sit down. Okay, so that is one option, one way to get up off the floor. If you really have truly, truly bad knees and getting up with that one leg is going to be way too difficult for you, there is another option. This is going to require more upper body strength. You can kind of see why it's very important to keep exercising and maintain or improve our strength, because when these situations happen, we do need to use some muscle power. Okay, so option two, you're going to still, get onto those knees for a moment and prop yourself up onto the surface that you're going to get onto. Instead of using that one leg as your other support and strength to get up, you're going to actually come up onto your feet and twist to sit on that surface. Okay, so you're going to pivot with both feet that time. Okay, there is one more thing that I would like to show you. This is very different, and this is going to require a lot more of your triceps and your shoulders. So this could be really difficult for people who have shoulder injuries. But if you do have strong arms, this could be more beneficial for you if you have more issues with your lower body. So I'm going to take you over to my couch over here. And we're going to look at another way to get up. Okay. So we've fallen and we're close by to our couch here. Okay. And getting onto our knees is not an option. Okay. But we have some really strong arms. So we're going to try this here. Okay. So again, it's that scooting method with your bum, using your legs and your arms to help you. So you're going to move your feet in close to you each time and then shift your bum. Okay, that's one way. You could actually even scoot your bum like this, shifting your hips side to side. okay, to get to where you need to be. So I'm at the couch here now. So my couch is very low once I take a cushion off of it. So I don't really need to stack a bunch of cushions, but what I would suggest is if you have that couch and these cushions come off, you're going to stack them and you're going to make kind of a ladder or a staircase up to the surface that you that you want to get up to. Okay, so you could carry these cushions over to that sturdy chair, whatever you want to do. Okay, so I'm gonna just kind of show you what I'm gonna do here. So these are one cushion, one cushion. I'm gonna pull one other cushion off to again make that staircase. Okay, so if you had a higher level couch, maybe you're stacking a few cushions with different heights, making them different heights. Okay, so I'm gonna come down a little bit more here so you can kind of see. So there's the level 1, level 2, and then I'm gonna get up to this other surface. Okay, so I'm gonna come up here. I'm gonna put my hands on that cushion. Your feet are coming out in front. You're gonna have them closer to that body because you're gonna need to lift your bum up onto this cushion. So I'm pressing down into this cushion and shifting my bum up. Okay, I'm gonna do that again now. I'm gonna turn my body, and now my arms are up on that higher level. And then I'm gonna use my legs again to help get up that other surface. Okay, now I'm here. I'm almost at that couch. So now I'm at the couch here. I have my arms on the couch. I have my feet on that lower cushion. And now I'm shifting my bum up to the couch here. Okay, so now I can just take a moment, assess what I need to do now. Okay, so I will say one thing is that we don't, if we know we're injured, even sometimes if we don't know we're injured necessarily, you might think, oh, I can get up. But sometimes you don't know until you stand up. And if you just stand up right away without really assessing what's going on with you, you could fall again. Okay. So it's always good to have a seat for a moment, get up off the floor if you can. If you can't call for help, if you can call for help, just get up off the floor, and don't stand up right away. Just give yourself some time, okay? And at least you're kind of up off the floor, so you're not going to fall back completely down to the floor. You might just kind of sit back into that couch or that chair. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take you back over here. So that's the demo there. And I know we went over that very quickly, and I know that when these things happen, it's not going to look that easy. Okay, and it might take you much longer to do any of those things. So I do recognize that, but maybe practicing these things, okay, so that we are prepared. We know that if we were to fall, what would I do? What method is going to work for me? How can I practice this? What can I get in my home so that I have those things if that is to occur? Okay, so being prepared is the best way, because some of us, unfortunately, we might be at high risk of falls. We might not, we might still fall. So it's just good to be prepared. Okay, so we're going to look at the vehicle. So getting in and out of the vehicle can be very challenging for some of us, especially with decreased mobility. So things to consider would be a low versus high vehicle. So avoiding purchasing or getting in and out of vehicles like a really high truck, right, that you have to step up into. That might be very challenging, or something very low where it's going to be really hard for you to get out of the seat, or just get your legs into the car, anything like that. There are gadgets available. So they are individually sold, or you can buy them in a kit. So the kit includes this handy bar, and this handy bar sticks into the latch in your door frame, so that little U-loop. And it can be removed so it doesn't stay there, so you can close the door. And then you can use it with your arm. So it's like another lever there for you to use to help get you in and out of the vehicle. The other thing is a pivot disc. So I'm going to kind of go to the next page here so you can see what I'm talking about. So the handy bar is this one. So you can see it's in that U loop and it does come in and out. Pivot disc. So this is just a fabric disc and it swivels. Okay. So it can be very helpful. So if we struggle to get our legs in and out of the vehicle, it can be a great tool to help you with that, or to help someone else that helps you get your legs in the vehicle too. Okay. So any of the devices or equipment that we talked about today, there are places in Peterborough that you can go to. I'm not going to recommend you any specific place, but I do want you to be careful looking at cheaper options, looking at Amazon, Walmart, Canadian Tire. I know they do sometimes have some good options, and I know they're much cheaper, but I do think quality is very important um, for overall safety. So there is some ones that we suggest. So Shoppers Home Health is one, Living Well, and also Align Home Health. So those are some key ones in the Peterborough area that if you do want to look into these devices, then you can contact them. Okay, so physical activity. This is the good stuff. So reduces impact of muscle loss associated with the natural aging process, increases mobility, physical function, bone density, and balance. So these are all things that we talked about earlier in the more negative tone, but they can be risk factors. So if we're being physically active, we can help maintain and increase these things that are risk factors, that can be risk factors. So recent estimates show that only 11% of Canadians between the ages of 60 and 79 years are meeting Canada's physical activity guidelines. So that's not a huge percent. I think we could do better. I would love to do better because, again, physical activity is huge in reducing your risk of falls. Okay. So Canada's physical activity guidelines says that 150 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity is required per week. So saying 150 minutes total is scary for some of us, okay? If we break that down, there's 7 days in a week, okay? If we break that down into the 7 days, it's 22 minutes a day, okay? 22 minutes a day, I don't think is too hard to fit into anyone's schedule, okay? It doesn't even have to be 22 minutes all at once. I would even go far to say 30 minutes, okay? Minimum. Again, 22 minutes, I guess, is the minimum, but I would say 30. I would really push for 30 or at least working up to 30, okay? And again, it's not starting out, really doing everything all at once. It's gradually getting into that routine and then building up, okay? So you're not gonna injure yourself too. So exercise programs. So research has shown that exercise is effective for community-based older adults. The following are recommendations for exercise-based interventions. So exercise must provide a moderate or high challenge to balance. So balance is key. We want to definitely challenge our balance so that we're improving those muscles and strengthening those muscles to help improve our balance. Exercise must be of a sufficient dose to have an effect. So we just talked about Canada's guidelines. That's what we're looking at. So that 150 minutes a week of that moderate to vigorous level of exercise or activity. Ongoing exercise is necessary. So if we're just doing a little workout here and there, once a week, once a month, we're not going to get the overall benefits. Okay. So really, I want to stress here that starting off in a routine, sure, every other day, maybe daily for lesser time, whatever you need to do, but creating a habit. Okay. So fitting it into your routine so that it's just comes second nature to you. I think that's the best way to do it. And also then it's going to increase your consistency, which is going to then be beneficial to you. Okay. So fall prevention exercise should be targeted at the general community as well as those at high risk for falls. So high risk for falls people, yes, we want to develop exercise programs for them, but we also want to catch people before they even fall into that category. So we want people exercising before they're falling into that risk factor, right? So that is what we have at community care programs that really do serve everyone's needs. So falls prevention exercises may be undertaken in a group or home-based setting. So there is so many resources out there. Community care has Zoom classes that you can do in the comfort of your own home. We have multiple community group in-person classes as well at different locations in our community and at different retirement homes in our community as well. All great programs to help with strength and balance, all great also for our social wellness. A lot of people love our in-person, a lot of people love our Zoom. They all have a social element to them. So I would suggest taking a peek at those. Walking training may be included in addition to balance training, but high-risk individuals should not be prescribed brisk walking programs. So I would suggest for anyone, if you're just starting off with an exercise program and you do have some health conditions or health concerns, I think checking with your family doctor first, especially if you're doing anything that requires high intensity. Okay. So checking with your doctor, making sure that these are appropriate for you. Strength training may be included in addition to balance training. So I would say that's very good. If we add some and we do both, it's going to be beneficial all around. And exercise providers should make referrals for other risk factors to be assessed. So if your instructor is noticing other things and maybe they are guiding you to who you should go see outside of their class. Okay. Okay, so some at-home exercises. So we have a great booklet put together at Community Care that has way more of these exercises, but I'm going to show you a few from that booklet. Okay, and these can be done at home. So grabbing a chair or having something close by that's nice and sturdy. So maybe in your kitchen at the countertop, something like that. Maybe your dining room table if it's a higher one. Anything like that, and making sure that there's space around you so that when you're moving around, you're not tripping over anything. Or if you have, a cute little pet at home, you're making sure that they're maybe in another room so that you're not going to trip over them when you're up. Also, a good pair of sturdy shoes when you're exercising, okay? Or bare feet. I recommend shoes though, okay? So again, you don't need to do a whole 10 repetitions at first. If you're new to exercise, start with 5 and you can increase the amount that you do and trying to complete 2 to 3 times a day. And you can even increase that. You can start off with 2 times a day, increase that to 3. Okay? So I'm just going to move my setup here again. Okay, so we have this chair here. Oh. You might not be able to see my face, but that is okay. Okay, so grabbing my chair here. So we're gonna start off with calf raises. So when we're doing those, we want our feet to be about hip distance apart. Okay, so we have a good base of support. Okay, we're gonna have that chair close by, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna just lift our heels, press the weight to the balls of our feet, and then slowly back down. Lift those heels and lower back down. Okay, we'll do 5 altogether. So there's 3. Maybe having a good strong core 2, making sure we're breathing. Okay, so those are calf raises. So squats. Squats are essentially just mimicking if we were to sit down. So again, feet are about hip distance apart. We're going to sink into our heels and move our hips so that we're sitting on a high chair. And then we're going to bring ourselves back up. Okay? So again, squeezing into your core to help support that low back. We're just reaching those hips back, coming on back up to standing. Let's do 3 more. There's 3, 4, and 1 more. These are very beneficial because this is a very functional movement that we do on the daily when we're getting up and off of up and down onto different surfaces. Okay, so leg raises to the side. So we're going to focus on our side hip muscles, which are huge in our maintaining our stability and for balance. Okay, so we're making sure that our one leg is going to be planted into the floor, and I'm going to start moving my right leg. So we're bringing it out to the side, coming back to center. Okay, just moving that leg from the hip, trying to lead with that heel. You'll feel that in the side of your glute muscle here, in the side of your hip. We'll do one more. And then, of course, you're going to repeat that on the other side. I'm just going to show you one side right now, okay? So the other one is leg raises behind. So we're going to work more on our glutes, okay? Our, our bum muscles. So we're going to stand up nice and tall again, plant that left leg into the ground, and we're going to draw that leg back behind us, leading with that heel. Here, we want to really engage our core, okay? So we're help protecting that low back, and we want just a small movement here. We want to keep that upper body strong and still, okay? So it's just movement from our hip, leading with that heel, okay? We want to prevent any arching in our back. We'll do one more. Good. Okay, we'll plant that leg back down. I'm going to turn to the side here, and we're going to do our gentle kicks out front. So we're going to plant our left leg into the ground. We're going to raise our right leg and then bring our heel forward and bring that foot back down. So again, core is engaged. Okay, you have that chair for support. We're lifting our knee and drawing our heel out. And back. Lift. Draw that heel out and back. Okay, lift that knee. Draw that heel out and back. And then one more, lifting that knee, driving that heel out and back. Good. Okay, so single leg balance. So it's just how it sounds. We're gonna make sure that left leg's planted into the floor again. Okay, and then we're gonna draw our right leg up. So you might want to just keep your toe planted on the floor. It really does depend on your abilities here. Or you can draw that knee up. And we're just gonna start off holding for 10 seconds, okay? So again, we're gonna just hold for 10 seconds, okay? And as you get better at this, maybe you're playing around with how much support you have on the chair with your hands, okay? You could maybe eventually close your eyes. You could maybe eventually hold that leg up there for longer, or you could eventually shift that leg around, okay? So there's different ways to make it more challenging. So the last one I'm going to show you is our tightrope balance or tandem balance. So we're going to bring our feet heel to toe, okay? And again, you're going to do this one again on the other side, okay? So we're going to stand up nice and tall. We're going to look straight ahead, and we're going to hold this. And again, you might choose to have both hands on the chair, and eventually you're going to maybe loosen up that grip, or maybe make that a little bit more challenging by bringing your arms out to the side. But for beginners, we'll just start counting to 10. Okay? So, and then you would just switch. Okay, so that is the rest of our presentation. We leave off at the best stuff, or what I think is the best stuff. So there is some references there if you want to do any further reading for yourself. And I hope that this has been beneficial to you today. And I hope that this motivates you to exercise. And, I know it's a lot of information. So if you gather this information, write it down, share it with a loved one, maybe have someone you love come and help you with the looking around your home and looking at things that you could modify or change. that could be very beneficial for you too. Okay? Anyways, you take care and we will see you soon.